I'm Grace, the founder of Comma, and today I have Thong Shu Yi, a clinical psychologist who works with families, couples, pertaining to relational issues, sexuality, and anxiety disorders. And also I have Jeannette Goon, who is a writer and co-founder for Lilith Women, a space and a platform for people to have open conversations about health. So most of the times when couples get married, you know, the excitement is there's hormones are all raging, but then after a while, maybe the spark is gone, right? So what are some of the things that, you know, couples come to you in this session of yours and the problems that they face, especially pertaining to sex?
I think, a lot of times couples come in and they usually don't register their presenting concern as we stop having sex per se, but they usually come in with a lot of different, life problems, such as maybe wife is going through depression or husband is going through a financial crisis and how that actually affects the relationship. One thing that's usually kind of common is that a lot of times I also hear a couple talk about the lack of intimacy in the relationship. So, oftentimes they describe saying things like, we're still in love with each other, but we just don't feel the physical chemistry anymore, and then they just stop having sex. And sometimes couple even sleeps in different rooms, or have a kid sleep in the middle. So basically there's just no chance
Until when
for
they're 12 years old, right?
In my experience, with my husband, one of the things that we needed to understand about each other was that we have different ways of expressing love. So I don't know if you've heard of the 5 love languages. So we actually sat down together to see what's my primary love language and what's his, and then we try to make room for each other. So sometimes I will try to do things that expresses more love towards him, and I think that helps to remind us that we actually did fall in love with this person way back then, and even though we're not the same people now, we still have this connection to each other.
I mean, feeling is very fleeting. They come and then they go. So I think sometimes it's, kind of knowing how do you reconnect with that feeling rather than waiting for the other person to do it as well. So a lot of times I think couples, you wait for your partner to initiate, and then you feel disappointed when they don't. And then you just kind of you know what, I'm just going to give up on this, because that person's not taking initiative. Because if you always just leave it to the other person, then you don't actually have that sense of control. And you get very disappointed when the person can't read your mind. And I think a lot of times in my experience of working with couples is that they've changed over the years. Of course, it's inevitable, but they've forgotten to get to know each other again. You just kind of you use the same set of assumptions from 30 years ago, and you think this should be the same person, but you just don't know this person anymore, and then obviously there's no more connection because you've changed.
I have a friend who, he got married years ago, and then they have 2 kids now. And recently they started doing this Friday night thing where they just sit at home and have a drink together. And he was telling me oh yeah, we're rediscovering each other as friends.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice, yeah.
So I think it's also remembering that this person was your friend as well.
Yeah.
And if they were your friend, if it was a friend that you hadn't seen in a long time, you would actually make the effort to get to know them again as well.
Sometimes we forget to discover one another again and learn to date one another and make it exciting again. And maybe part of the excitement is also buy nice lingerie. Don't wear your daggy, t-shirt and
nude
pants.
knickers.
I have to admit, my husband made me give away my pajamas had pineapple pants, prints on it. I really love that pineapple print. He said it wasn't adding anything to our relationship.
There's no value.
I think that you would communicate your preferences in terms of how you want the house to look like, or what you prefer in terms of what to eat maybe. In the bedroom, I think it's the same thing. It's important to communicate your preferences. Sometimes it can be a bit sensitive, but I think if you do it with the understanding that you're trying to improve your relationship, I think it's definitely something that's needed.
I think it's important that, when you're having that kind of honest conversations, you focus more on yourself and take accountability of your own emotions. So instead of saying things I don't like it when you do this, you say when you do this, it actually makes me feel good. You know, so you
Use the
focus on
positive.
you focus on what you actually like rather than what you don't, because then you just make that person feel really bad.
To summarize, if you communicate well with one another, you can set your own expectations
Yeah.
to what you want your
Yes.
sexual experience to be like.
Yeah.
So sexual intimacy is not just about intimacy in the bedroom, because it extends to everything
Yes,
else.
yes, of
like
course.
it could be going for a nice date together, and I don't know, like giving each other a pat on the bum or something like that.
Yeah,
something like
something
fun.
surprising, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and put the kids somewhere else.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.